the third of these behind the scenes virtual tours that we've given over the course of this summer. I'm Victoria Six, and I'm the Chief Development Officer here at ECS. So I'll be hosting this along with Abigail. Abigail is our Manager of Board and Development Relations. This call is to be about 50 minutes long, concluding around 11:20. We are recording today's session. We have found it very helpful to have recordings of these sessions to share with people who can't be here. Right now, you're all on mute. And as we go along, we ask you to unmute yourselves if you have a question for the speaker. There's also the chat function where you can type in questions as you go along, and Abigail will monitor that. And before we start, here's one question that we are always curious about. What are you most interested in learning during this session? And I'll give you about 15 seconds to answer that.
And if you could just type that into the chat room, that'd be great.
The chat box, exactly. So here's what you can expect today. First, you'll hear from ECS Executive Director Dave Griffith, giving you an overview of current operations and in specific the way ECS youth programs fit into the mission. Then I'll be back to give you a little history of seeing youth succeed. Then Tior Wilkins, who's the program manager for SYS, will explain the program and share some participant videos with you. As we conclude, Tior and Dave will be available for questions that Abigail will pull from the chat. So put them in as you're thinking of them. So as many of you know, after a long and successful career in business, Dave Griffith came to ECS in 2013 as the 11th Executive Director and the first layperson in that role, a position he refers to as head coach. As he talks with us about the ECS approach to supporting individual economic independence, Dave's role as head coach will become clear. Dave?
Yep, thank you, Victoria. And let me first welcome all of you to today's session. I'm delighted. We have run 3 of these, and we have some 55 folks who have signed up, and I'm deeply appreciative of your attendance. Second, let me just up front thank you for your interest. In these times in particular, it is good to have citizens of our community interested in the work we do, and implicit in that is interest in the people that we serve. So let me thank you for that interest, and also let me thank you for your support. Some of you know us, some of you don't, but let me just give you a brief overview of Episcopal Community Services. ECS is a 150-year-old agency that has always run to the fire. Today, sorry, my dog is trying to burst in on me here, such as the perils of home office here. But we're an agency that historically has always run to the fire. Today, that fire is clearly intergenerational poverty in our region. Our focus as an agency is to move from programs that maintain individuals, albeit those are vital services, to one that enables individuals to achieve economic mobility and to thrive. 3 years ago, we undertook a strategic review, and we adopted a new approach to our work. It is based on the work of Empath in Boston, which is a well-established social service firm, and it involves using leading-edge brain science, and we focus on coaching individuals to problem solve and achieve their goals. That transition is continuing today. and informs all of our work. Abigail, if you could put up the chart on our program buckets, if you will. All right, so what you see here is really how we think about our work. We think about programs that provide stability. We think about programs that provide prevention. And we think about work that is transformational. And so under the stability bucket, we look to help to move participants out of crisis and get stability. So that would be our emergency housing, which would be our shelter at St. Barnabas, and then permanent housing and the pathway to permanent housing, which we do with rapid rehousing, where we currently have 20 units of housing and we'll be growing that to probably 40 to 45 units over the near term. Prevention is incredibly important. It's to promote alternative thinking strategies and to provide fundamental services to increase participants' well-being. Those programs are well known out of school time program where we serve some 700 individuals. Right now, those programs have pivoted to manning the centers that you've read about in the paper, where we are in 7 centers right now, supervising cohorts of 22 kids to supervise their virtual learning. And that's where the kids of essential workers and low-income families, and I believe we are one of the largest providers in that service. So we've had to do a pivot with COVID. Seeing Youth Succeed, the program that you're going to hear about today, is in that bucket. And then we have a number of health and wellness programs. Transformational, which is where we do very specific programs to help people move through economic mobility, is where Mindset resides. That's our long-term economic independence program, very intense coaching, and that's really what we started brand new 3 years ago. And then we've had an ongoing workforce development program, which we call RISE. So today, we want to give you a very in-depth look at Seeing Youth Succeed, which has its roots with us really go back 7 years. And it's really based on much of our previous work with youth. In many ways, it was an early version of coaching, which is what we've adopted across the entire agency. Its intent is to support young people as they complete high school and to successfully get them to complete high school and to move to a positive post-high school experience. You'll see in the videos some just spectacular stories, but Victoria, perhaps you want to give a little bit more of the history of how we got to SYS so people can understand the context of the program. So Victoria, back to you.
I'd love to do that. I just wonder, Abigail, I'm seeing a lot of questions in the chat box. Is there anything that Dave could better answer right now before we move on?
I think that many of the questions are asking about the pivot during the crisis, as well as just having more understanding of what goes on in Seeing Youth Succeed. So I think those will be answered by—
We'll carry on. All right, let's do that. So the history of Seeing Youth Succeed actually goes back to the mid-'80s. ECS was a very early, if not the first, responder to the AIDS crisis in Philadelphia, working particularly with families, as we've always done. As time went by, parents died, in some cases children died, and there were young people left either orphaned or in the foster care system, and we stayed with those young people. As they aged out of foster care, we continued to support them. The program eventually was called Teens Taking Over. We were early using cognitive behavior approaches and some trauma-informed work to help these kids stay focused on what they needed to do. So that program eventually became Seeing Youth Succeed, in a continuum of effort to recognize that not all young people have the same supports that others enjoy, to be able to figure out, what am I going to do? Do I need to finish high school? What do I do afterwards? And that is where this program has landed and is extremely successful. So I want to introduce you now to Tior Wilkins, who is the program director of Seeing Youth Succeed. She's been with us, I think, for 3 years, and it's my pleasure to turn the floor to Tior.
Thank you. Everybody can hear me? Okay. So I wanted to start with showing a video that's going to have a compilation of program activities from the year 2018 through 19. I'm going to talk a little bit about what you'll see before we show it. You'll see that it includes regular program days, special events, and celebrations. Regular program days typically are held Saturdays each week through the school year, and the majority of the Saturdays students spend in strategic planning throughout the project-based learning process. In between their discussions and them taking those action steps that they've chosen, they are participating also in special events that we hold for them throughout the year. And our staples are usually resume workshops, college tours, and a career day. You'll also see clips from an event that they coordinated themselves, which is a fundraiser that they held last winter, selling hot chocolate and cookies, all in an effort to raise money to create t-shirts that they hoped to use as a conversation starter and continue the fight against racism and violence. That was their project in 2018. And I have a little shirt here that they made using that money. So let's see here. The video is going to end with they're celebrating at the end of the year, just to dedicate some time to all the efforts that they put in throughout the year. And by popular demand, that was Six Flags in 2019. So I hope you just enjoyed the video and their smiling faces and all the good work in practice. We can show the video. Thank you. Okay, so at SYS, project-based learning is really the backbone of our program, because we know that the more we allow our youth to do, they will do, the more they will do. As coordinator, we still work closely with staff and with students, and have had the pleasure of witnessing a sort of phenomenon of executive functioning and developing in them. Our PBL process has evolved since I've been in this position. There are always 3 components of our project. It includes media and technology, entrepreneurship, and service learning. And when I came on for my first year at SYS, we were having students choose a topic and then think of how they can make an impact in their community using those 3 avenues. But we decided this wasn't creating the unity that we wanted among our group, and it felt like their creativity was restricted. So we picked up a few skills in professional development and took a new model. Now we begin our PBL every year asking the group, what do you know and why do you care? And this helps us to develop an understanding of what our group is interested in and what they feel is most relevant, which in a organic way leads them to designing a culminating event that will be a service wherever they see fit. The last few years, the projects were bullying, race relations, where they created the shirt, and most recently, when we transitioned into virtual program, they decided instead of having their typical ceremony and inviting people to hear their project showcase, they did a virtual SYS talk on mental health in minority communities. At the culminating events, they will showcase their project, and we have a graduation ceremony. And I always remember one of the seniors said a few years ago, I want to thank the staff for allowing us to be ourselves. And I think that what staff appreciate most about our participants, working with our participants, is seeing them really thrive from the atmosphere where they can explore and grow into themselves, and seeing the impact of intentionally creating that space where they can do that. And I'm happy to say that our major highlight has been retention. Our biggest strength is continuing the youth-led culture. We learned that it is a spectrum. Youth-led culture is a spectrum. And just growing into not being afraid to let them be the driver in the project. And we plan to continue this moving forward, which means allowing some awkward silence sometimes to pass in the conversation where we ask them a question, but they're sort of waiting for us to give them the answer to a question. And youth-led means letting them fail sometimes too. And we just believe that that's how you build the confidence to have them become leaders. And it's allowing them to take risk in a safe environment. So there's one more video we want to share of students giving their feedback after going virtual this year. And we can show this one now.
Yeah, so I've been there for SYS about 3 years. It definitely helped me mature and take leadership in a lot of things that I would have slacked on if I really didn't attend the program. It helped me to strengthen my leadership skills, and and just I gained skills that help me in my future as well. So basically, when we do things like this, or at the SYS talk and things like that, it helped me personally, because it helped me to realize that sometimes you just gotta put the efforts in, and it'll benefit you in the long run. So overall, SYS has just been a good journey for me. I still got another year to go though, but overall, it's just been a good journey for me, and I just like the experience overall. I would recommend it to your future 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders that would like to join. It is very beneficial.
Thank you, Priest. Would somebody else like to speak? this, well, this is like my last year, which is like kind of sad because it's like technically my last day, and I've been like a part of this program for like a while, and my brother has too. He like left last year, but what I found out about this SYS program in general is like it's very resourceful. You get connected with so many people and you get to do so many things, and in a way it like pushes you out the comfort zone, and it gets you to speak to people, and it allows you to have like a voice. So it's, for me, I make it seem like it's like a platform almost, and it just allows us to reach out to more people to get our voices heard. Like that's it.
Thank you, Sergio. Would anybody else like to speak before we move on? I think we have for another. Yep. Okay.
I've been at SYS since 9th grade, so this would be my 4th year. So I've been here since the start, and I like to say SYS has changed me a lot, like including my work ethic. It encouraged me to talk more, to speak to people, and I just overall think that it just helped me to become a better person. I have more courage when I'm speaking and working with people, and I learned a lot from different things that we have done, and I really think that we have a impact on the community, no matter how big or small. And I think we changed a lot of people's hearts and lives over the 4 years that I have attended. So I would definitely recommend 9th through 12th graders to come attend this program.
Thank you, Derek.
I think for me, I've been here for 3 years, and like this is like a community where people like don't matter what race you are, what age you are. Like this place, like it taught me a lot. Before I was shy. I mean, I'm still shy now, but before it helped me improve my communication skills with other people and like to be more out there. So like yeah, it's a good program. I really recommend 9th to 12th graders to join.
Thank you. You guys sound like a commercial. Okay. Okay. Would anybody else want to share? I don't want to cut anyone off.
I'd like to go.
Okay.
This is actually my first year at SYS. I haven't been here for that long, but I can definitely say that the time I've been here, it's really been a great experience. Like it's just a really good environment, and working on this project was just like we all came together and we all like really tried to put our all into it and make sure that we can make an impact with what we're doing and the information that we're putting out there. And it's just a really great environment. And I'm glad that I joined it.
Yes, Mike, we've only known you for a short while, but it's been a good time. You've been your leadership skills have skyrocketed since you've been here. We appreciate you. We'll get into the appreciations very soon. I'm already getting started. Okay. Amira, did you want to say anything else? Do we have any other students on? I don't want to skip over anybody before we move on.
I don't really got a lot to say.
Mm-hmm.
I just this is my 2nd year here, and it like taught me to like open up a little bit because like I'm like naturally really quiet. This taught me how to like socialize a little bit more, and it let me like really like understand what I want to do more. Because like before this program, I wasn't really like worried about like what I really wanted to do until I got here. So, and I enjoy everybody in this program.
Okay, thank you. So that was taken at the end of our culminating event that was just this past June. And you see that was the virtual version of our culminating event. So I believe, should we take some questions first before going to the next step?
Sure. So some of the questions were really about the transition or the pivot because of the pandemic and just in general how participants are holding up. So if you could speak a little to that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, so after it took a little bit of testing out different platforms for us to decide that we were going to go with Zoom. And I think that that was a sort of like a nationwide thing. So, but it was really more, we learned that it was a little more on the staff and to just get up to speed with how the students were already able to function on different platforms already. Even in the PBL process, when we're learning about, or we're learning in professional development, technology is not really a subject that you have to teach the children. It's part of their everyday lives already. It's more like we as adults have to keep up with it ourselves. So that's something that they're born into. So it was really a matter of us deciding, okay, we're going to use this and then being consistent with that. I think that we missed a Saturday or two when that happened in March. So, I mean, I think that we didn't, I think that it didn't delay the project very much. When we came back on, keeping our spirits up, keeping them motivated. We usually start our Saturdays in person with icebreakers or things to let them relax into the space and get ready to work. And so we kept the same schedule in mind when we went into virtual. Generally, our schedule usually starts with the icebreaker like that, and then we will take a short break in the middle of our day just to keep the momentum going when they come back to work. I think that overall the transition was relatively easy once we got everyone to make a decision about what they wanted to do. And the plans as far as what they wanted to do for the culminating event didn't change very much.
So similarly, were there any advantages to the transition to virtual? You talked about how the students probably know technology better than all of us put together, but are there any surprises that came out of this transition?
I'll let Tior talk to SYS specifically, but we actually had, and there were a couple questions in the chat. A number of first of all, every program kept running, whether it was in person, deemed essential, or we transferred to virtual. And I give the team high marks for doing that. But particularly our mindset program, and I would argue maybe even SYS and RISE, time and place are an issue, right? The ability to juggle a schedule, the ability to get here with public transportation in a pandemic. And what we've discovered is through this virtual technology, we've been able to really meet people where they are and on their schedule. And that's been something that I think we will not necessarily go fully back, but we'll adapt the technology. So, you know, in mindset, if I'm working an essential job and I've got to help kids with homework or virtual, maybe it's 8 o'clock at night when I'm available. Well, now our coach can appropriately adjust the schedule and meet that person at a time when it works best for them. That's been something we've talked about, but the pandemic has forced it, and frankly, we think it's something that is significantly improved. Tior, how about with the kids?
I think our advantage would be similar. I think that we definitely were able to see more progress on a day-to-day basis on Saturdays. when we're in person, as children do, they like to play a little. So on virtual, it's kind of, it seemed at first that we weren't able to really tell whether or not they were focused when we're not in front of them, but they pulled through the end of the year like they usually do. And it was, as the one student said, it was a really great experience just seeing how they all came together and they made sure that all of their goals were met by the end of the year. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Tior. We've had a couple of questions about how students get involved with SYS. You saw that so many of them have been in the program for several years, but how do they get there?
I believe most of our students come from students that are already in SYS. They hear it by word of mouth. But we also have a flyer, and we are also launching a SYS page on Facebook as a group. So that'll be our new way of adding in recruitment styles. And then other than that, visiting high schools in the area from schools that we've already had students from.
Yeah, word of mouth tends to be the most powerful recruitment tool that we have. And it's amazing to me how in the early days of SYS, we were worried about recruitment, but then as word went out, but an interesting phenomena went on that not only did the young people recruit, they also screened. And they said, look, there's some people maybe we want to just think about. And it was interesting because eventually everybody wound up coming into the program, but they really took pride and ownership in the quality of the product and of the experience. And boy, is that a lesson for life that kind of went through. So it's been, and frankly, the many of our programs you have to go through a city agency to get referred to, be the shelter or rapid rehousing. But with Mindset Rise and SYS, we recruit, and we have had a recruiter on staff in the past, but word of mouth and success seems to beget success, and that's probably the most powerful testimony to the quality of the program, that it's become self-recruiting. What else?
So Dave, going back to the programmatic chart where we looked at all of our various programs, we did have a question about whether there's a nutrition education element in our health and wellness programming.
The answer is yes. Pamela runs that, Eggleston runs that program for us. She's MSW. We actually have a partnership and some funding from Aramark that we've been able to leverage. We also have programs that have a diabetic focus program that we run, and then just the general wellness program. So we do, and then we are partnering longer term with Philabundance. We have a partnership with Habitat, Philabundance, and us that is evolving. And the healthy eating theme in general is one that obviously they're involved in, and one that we want to continue to promote. And I'm hoping that program continues to get legs. And then obviously the feeding programs that we do. We have a volunteer program that under COVID's been hammered a little bit, but where we prepare healthy microwavable meals that we then distribute to elderly communities that are in the city. And that's another flavor of how we promote healthy eating. That's got to get back on its legs, because the whole delivery issue with COVID has, particularly in elder communities, you can imagine the restriction of what comes in and comes out with COVID has been pretty severe. But I'm looking forward to a time when we can resume that pickup. I thought I saw a question about the ratio of students and how that all works. Tior, you want to comment on kind of the size of your staff and the number of kids and obviously it varies by cohort, but kind of how many Tiors are, well, there's only one Tior, but how many folks work in the program?
We have, outside of me, we have 3 other staff as counselors, and we typically max out at, I think the last few years we've had attendance of 13 students, and this does fluctuate throughout the year.
And how many cohorts during the year?
One,
just so we go.
Mhm.
And they last for how long?
the entire school year. We start a little bit later in the fall. We start in October. This year we'll be starting October 10th on Saturday, and we'll go throughout the school year according to the Philadelphia School District calendar and end in late May, early June.
Yep. And you might want to comment about the alumni. What I always love at graduation is the number of alumni that may come back and how do we stay in touch. There's been a question about end results. What's some of the success stories about where folks have gone on? And I'm mindful of a couple of our alumni who have really gone to good places.
Yes, so this past year we've had 5 seniors who have all let us know that they've been accepted into college. Some of them with various scholarships. We did have one senior last year who graduated and became part of our OST team, working as an assistant group leader for the after-school program. So that was great. I think those are 2 of our greatest success stories. And was there another question too?
Abigail, any more from chat?
I think we covered most of them. Actually, let me see. We did have a question about how other organizations can partner with Seeing You Succeed or with out of school time in general.
You want to go ahead, Tior? Or we also have Christian on the line if he wants to jump in and answer the question.
Let's see. As far as partnering with programs, I would say we do have opportunities for a volunteer work. If you mean in another way, I might need some assistance from Christian.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself, Christian.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Christian Holland. I'm the Senior Director of the Out of School Time and Youth Programs. Just for clarity's sake, for whomever asked that question, are you asking for how do we partner with other organizations in general, or are you specifically talking about a specific genre of organizations? Just wanted to get clarity.
Yeah, the question was phrased, how can organizations partner?
Oh, okay, yeah. So let me say, in general, organizations can partner with us in various ways. Currently right now, and Tior is really modest, she didn't really tell you that right now we've been working on our we have been working on our up and coming year this year, and we are partnering, for example, with an amazing organization called Teach. And Teach actually is an organization that really is, its founder, her name is Maria Ferzola. And Maria was a former CFO that had a burden to teach. Make a long story short, she ended up becoming a teacher and really working within the school district and the system. She really felt as though she could really contribute more. So she started that organization, and Teach right now, currently, they're an amazing organization with great impact. They partner with other organizations such as Franklin Institute and other school districts throughout the city and throughout the state and New Jersey, et cetera. And they have been really famously known for their impact in test prep, helping youth to really gain interest into colleges, helping youth with their 21st century learning skills, which is a great match because Tior talked about the PBL. So the outcomes of what we're looking to see our students get to when they do their PBL is kind of greater critical thinking skills, greater decision making. I think I saw a question about what have been some of the impacts. We also do a lot of data. We're really data-driven organization, and some of the data that we looked at after having our youth go through this year of PBL and process, we found that our youth who partook in the program, they had greater social awareness, greater empathy. We do a lot of things also with social emotional learning as well. And so going back to Teach is actually looking to partner with SYS this year, working with our students to do specific things in test preparation. They're going to start working with youth as, I think, to your 9th and 10th grade. They're also going to be helping out some of our older youth with kind of helping them with narratives and college essay writing and things of that sort. So we're really, once again, on our logic model, we're really kind of going to the next level and really helping our youth to really, if they desire to go to college, to help them to actually get entrance into college. And I also saw that there was another question about other things beyond college. One of the things that you all saw on the slideshows, we really have a lot of interest with our youth that want to go and get into culinary arts, or who want to be, I think, I know we had a lot of people that wanted to be technicians or want to go into the auto technical role. So we have a career day. And in that career day, we actually have professionals who actually come talk to our youth. They actually mentor the youth. They spend time to really talk about their careers, and it really helps our youth to kind of get a gauge on what they really want to get into, because not everybody wants to go into college, right? Some of our youth want to go to technical school or things of that sort. So we really try to really focus on what the youth really want to get into, but we also want to kind of lay down a blueprint so that if they do desire to go to Harvard, or if they do desire to go to Penn State, or if they desire to go to this technical school, that they can gain access to it. So Tio has been doing an amazing job, for example, with Teach, who was an organization we're partnering with, for example, just one of them that we're partnering with, and helping our youth to really gain access to those resources. So I hope that answered that question.
Yeah, no, that's good. Go ahead, Tio.
I was going to add that our program is not tied to any obligation for our youth. So all of them who come in are going voluntarily, and we do this also that it really helps them to hone in on the independent skills that they'll need to transition into adulthood. So this includes minimal participation from their parents that's necessary, and just maintaining good standing within the program. So I wanted to say a few things about that we'll be extending our ECS's coaching model that we usually use for our adult programs into our 11th and 12th graders. So this started last year, and we've been reworking the model for the new cohort as well. And that'll be working alongside Teach this year. So they'll get the coaching in the same form that our adults do, where they're working with an incentivized plan that they're creating themselves, and as they move forward along that the plan that they've laid out, they're receiving incentives for that.
So understand, guys, that when we made the strategic decision to move to be a coaching agency based on the brain science, there's multiple flavors of how that rolls out. You heard Christian mention social and emotional learning. You heard Tior describe bringing coaching down. At a fundamental level, coaching is about giving people the skills to problem solve on their own versus case management, which used to have the flavor and still does in many sectors of telling people what to do. We would really draft off, and the way I describe it is the parable of the fishes. We're not giving people fish. We're helping people learn how to fish and fish on their own, and perhaps pointing them to some of the better fishing holes with awareness about where are the jobs, what are the career paths, what are the directions that you might not be aware of that are available to you. It is a fundamental difference in how you case management to coach people versus telling people. And what we've seen is great success. One of the things I love about SYS is we were really doing coaching before we discovered Empath. And Tior and the team have taken it to a whole different level. But coaching is going on in the shelter. It's going to go on in our rapid rehousing. We've been in discussions to bring those services there. Obviously, it goes on in seeing you succeed and rise, and through the programs. So that's why it's so strategic and why it has such the impact. I'm mindful of time, Victoria. Perhaps you want to come back and close up here.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave. And thank you all for the questions that helped us expand upon what you know about the work that ECS does. This is the last of our series, but I would be remiss in not letting you know that this program was based initially on a government grant back in the 80s. But since the mid-90s, this has been funded by the parishes and individuals and foundations across the city. And that has made this program as strong and varied as it is. This is the last of these series for now. We will pick them up again after the first of the year. But the next great opportunity that you have to be in partnership with ECS is to attend the 7th Annual Forum on Justice and Opportunity. The forum will take place virtually. There's the flyer for it. During the week of Monday, October 26th through that Friday, 1 hour a day at lunchtime, different speaker, different focus throughout the week. And we hope that this will continue the conversations that we began last year as we think about how to improve opportunities for justice in our city and region. So if you've already registered, thank you. We have about 100 people signed up so far. If not, it's right there on the website, ecsphilly.org/forum. Will take you where you need to go. So that concludes my remarks, and I will turn it to Dave to thank you once again on behalf of all of us.
Again, let me thank you for your interest. As I say to many folks, welcome to the movement. Many of you have been at it a long time. You get that social justice is a function of involvement, and it is important to both learn the facts and then take action. So we are grateful that you show interest in our work. We thank you for your support of our work. We can't do it alone. This requires all of us to be together. And I am often reminded of a quote that I've seen used in the SYS graduation, which is the old African proverb that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And it is incredibly important to us that you are with us and you are together with us, and that we do the work. Let me also extend an offer as well to the forum. We are working with other dioceses, and they are going to be dialing in. We are starting to get great interest in the work of the brain science and how we do it. And so I encourage you to participate that. And please be shameless in being a reference to your friends and inviting them. The more people that learn about the work, the quicker we can move on the work. So be safe, be well, and be strong.